All right, here we go, guys, with what I'm calling selective color in our pictures. All right, we want to choose just one part of our picture to have color. The rest of it's going to be in black and white. All right, so I'm going to quickly show you how to do that. We're going to go back to the home screen. I'm going to go down to Create New, leave it on Full HD, and actually I'm going to swap the width and the height because the picture that I've chosen is actually taller than it is wide. So I'm going to change this to 1920 and this one to 1080. Create. You're welcome to do that too if you need to. All right, now for this one, we need to find a picture that, makes sense. That part of it is black and white, part of it is not. Part of that process is finding a picture that has a lot of color in it so that we know that part of it has been pushed to black and white. All right, I'm going to be using this one because there's just tons of things. We all know what Crayola materials look like. This is the art aisle at a Target or Walmart or something like that. And this will look very obvious that it has been turned to black and white. And we'll pick just one part of this picture to leave in color. Okay, so I'm going to add this photograph that I took by clicking plus, clicking image, and then finding that picture. Now, it is not a requirement that you use a photograph that you took, but it is highly encouraged. If you find something really awesome online that you'd like to use, we will talk about it and figure it out. But it's going to be much better. Your quality of picture is going to be a lot better if you do it with a photograph you've taken. Okay, so I'm just trying to get this to be the right size. I'll probably end up cropping this a little bit shorter. I just want to make sure my model fits in there the best you can. All right, the first thing we're going to do is we want to figure out what we're going to make colored. And I believe I'm going to do this crown right here because that's the thing that stands out the most. And before we mess with this picture at all, the first thing we want to do is click on the three dots next to its layer and duplicate it. This button right here, the two squares on top of each other. Okay, now we have two of the same thing. And I'm going to turn off the bottom one. I'm going to make it invisible. All right, and now we are going to simply go to the cutout mask tool. And for this, because there's so much going on in the back, I'm going to use the lasso tool with my feather set to 2. All right, then I'm going to zoom in and use my fine motor skills to remove everything except for this crown. Now this takes some time, like you've probably seen in the other video. You want to go right along the edge, swoop around, and get that out. Now I took out a little bit too much right here. And this is great. I'm glad this happened because that's not where I cut out. I cut out over here. If this happens to you, go ahead and delete this layer. I haven't had it happen in the middle ever, so that's good. I'm going back to my original, and I'm going to duplicate this again. Hide that first one, and let's see, is this going to work now? Yes, now it's cutting out where I want it to cut out. Okay, so right along the edge. Remember, you can always go back and add things back in by swapping your mode to the Add Mask tool. And I'm going to slowly take my time, swing around, and remove the rest of this. Now, I'm going to do this kind of fast and sloppy because I know you don't want to watch me do this the whole time. But I have a swap out, like in a cooking show, that I'm going to show you where I took my time and did a nice job. Okay, swoop around, cut out this bottom part. You should definitely not be going this fast. You should be zooming in and getting right up to the edge, making sure you are making it nice and neat. Otherwise, your picture won't look that great and your grade will reflect that. One more here. Around there. Swoop around, and that'll get the rest of it. Now I want to get rid of the rest of this picture as well, so I'm just going to swoop around. Be Careful not to cut out the piece that I want to keep. Just like that. Ta-da! And now it's very important that we don't move anything, not until we're done. I'm going to turn on my other layer, and it's going to look like I did nothing, but that's okay. That's what we want. I'm going to select this bottom one. We just got everything perfectly lined up, and that's why it doesn't look like anything is changed, and that's why we don't want to move anything. And I'm going to go to Adjustments, go to Hue, Saturation, and I'm going to turn the saturation all the way down. Okay? Made the whole picture black and white except for the crown, and that's just because we have a secondary crown right on top that hasn't had all the color taken out. Now, after this, we can take our picture, we can do other adjustments to it. Brightness contrast is always a good one to do, especially when you're in black and white. We want our blacks to be nice and black and our lights to be nice and light. And we could even go into this one and change its color. Go to Hue Saturation and change its hue. Could make the crown green if we want to. Yeah. If you have something that's more than one color and you want it to be a single color, you can click on Colorize, and that will change it to that specific color. Okay, I'm not going to do this for this, but basically all I'm going to do now is hit that crop and get rid of the stuff that I don't need to have in the picture. Hit the Enter key, and voila, that's it. All right. The only thing that I would say is make sure you do that nice and neat. You can see over here, the color doesn't go all the way to the edge. In this version, it's the same exact picture, yes, but if I zoom in, you can see that I took my time and there's a nice clean edge of color, and you can't see any of that gray edge in there. Okay, but that is the selective color option for your digital art project.